Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Caroline. I know it says my name is Brian, but it's not. I am here with Jasmin Gerwien. She's one of our longtime interpreters on the platform. She knows it inside and out, and she's going to be here with me talking about the topic at hand, language industry trends and the modern remote interpreter. So Jasmin, thank you so much for joining us. If you could introduce yourself.
Good morning, Caroline. Thank you for having me here again. I am looking forward to sharing some valuable information with all the wonderful and eager interpreters around the world.
Great. So can you see my screen? Just making sure.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. We're going to get started here. One sec. So let's go to the first slide. We're going to be talking about the market size here. I'm not going to go too much into detail on this, but I do want to say that, as you can see, not projected, but in 2018, we reached the billions in the language industry. This includes translation and interpretation, but the current trends show us that interpretation services are on the rise, especially in the remote sector. So it's very important to keep that in mind and to always stay on top of not just the basic trends, but also what markets are needing interpreters more and more, and what sort of credentials do you need to be an interpreter in those markets, which is something we'll go over further down. So as you can see, what's on the horizon, basically by 2024, we are expected to not double, but we are expected to increase substantially from where we were in 2018. And let me know if you have any questions. I have here on the webinar application here the option to answer questions as we go, which I'll try to do my best but if not, we'll definitely get to them at the end of the webinar. So let's keep going here.
Wow, Caroline, can we go back to that slide? So by 2024, this is fantastic news.
Yeah, this is really great.
It's exciting to know that the interpretation job market is one of the fastest growing in the world, which means that we have to keep up with the competition. But we'll go into that later.
Exactly. Thank you for pointing that out. We're going to go pretty detailed. We're going to show pretty detailed information about what it means to stay up to competition in certain fields. And I gave you a little sneak preview of the different sectors, but we'll go on to that. The sectors that are the top 10, I would say, in need of interpreters these days are healthcare, as I'm sure many of you are aware. We'll be talking about the different credentialing in the healthcare sector because it's more defined than a lot of the other sectors. And then also we'll be talking about the legal sector. But there are all these other sectors that require language services, and the rise for demand is really substantial. So even if you aren't credentialed in certain spaces, there's definitely work out there for you as an interpreter if you have experience interpreting. So basically, we're going into number one is the healthcare sector. And on the Boostlingo platform, I definitely would say that that's about 70% of the calls that come in are healthcare related. The next largest one is the legal sector. But there's also all these other ones that are included, and they're maybe defined more in the realm of community interpreting. But it's very important to know the topic at hand, know the context, and not just jump into an assignment that you're not aware of what's going on. So basically, entertainment, which can be any type of field that's like a luxury or something like that. I'm trying to think of an example there, but then also banking, finance, business. We're getting clients more often here where where the services are realizing that they can reach more clientele if they have language services. And then also travel is huge, obviously. When you're going to a new place, you don't speak the language, or if you have clients coming in from out of town to do a business meeting, for example, they need an interpreter, and it's incredibly important. So public schools and government, there's a little more regulation there um, around things that interpreters need to be trained in, for example, um, in public school realm and government. So those are things that we can talk about, and if ever anyone has questions there, we can also address that. Immigration, which is
Yeah.
enormous. I
Let's
think
the
Jasmin.
immigration. Yeah, let's talk about the immigration industry. It's very big at the moment. Language interpreters are important contributors to the overall refugee process system. Therefore, interpreters need to familiarize themselves with the process and the certain terminology used. Interpreters can find all information needed on immigration um, on the websites of immigration and refugee boards.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I'd like to point out also that Jasmine is located in Canada. So obviously, these things are going to vary depending where you are. And Boostlingo caters primarily to the United States industries, and government as well. But so we always just have to be aware of the different laws, the different trends in immigration in each place that we are in, just
Yeah.
to stay on top of things.
What I find very helpful as well is reading news articles on immigration and the different cultures that are coming to, whether it's to Canada or the US.
Yeah, that's incredibly helpful. I mean, I don't ha- I go from different news source to different news source sometimes, right? Just changing, but it's incredibly useful to stay up to date with those things, especially if you are primarily in the immigration sector. So other ones that are also important: insurance industry, event production, training and consulting. So that's one that I would like to highlight, that we're getting more and more need. I'm seeing more and more trends and need for, because these larger companies or businesses are just not able to train their employees because they don't speak their language. And immigration, as we know, is feeding into that as well. So, and then humanitarian services. That's also, it's the last one, but it's not the least important. It's extremely important. And I know that a lot of interpreters out there have worked in that space and can speak to that as well. So these are the top 11. And Jasmine and I will go into the first two just because they're the most in demand right now. But if people have questions on any of the other ones, please do let us know, and we will do our best to answer those. So,
So
like I said,
for
Jasmine.
interpreters, for interpreters that are interested in specializing in the medical field, there are various credentialing organizations on the web, such as, of course, the Medical Core Certification Healthcare Interpreter. There is the website there. You can check it out. There's the National Board of Certification for Medical Interpreters, CMI. There's the International Medical Interpreters Association, endorsed medical interpreter training programs. And the same goes for legal interpreting. If an interpreter wants to specialize in legal interpreting, then you can check out the National Center for State Courts, National Association of Judiciary Interpreters and Translators. And what I find, there's other organizations. You can find certain court training sessions in your area, which are offered by the courthouses. Some of you might have that, but it's a wonderful thing if you can get hold of the courthouses in your area and see what they're offering for training session. That would be very helpful.
Yeah, and just to point out, this the legal field especially is a little bit trickier when you're doing freelance interpreting, because it's going to vary the type of credentialing you need, depending on just maybe the state or the municipality even. But so we have different we have different permission types for that reason, in terms of what kind of calls interpreters can take. So legal specialization means that you have excuse me, experience at least 3 years of experience working with legal cases and assignments. Court is more specific, meaning that you have to have a certification in the state or municipality that you're working in. So it'll be interesting to see how, as the freelance market grows and the remote interpreting market grows, how this type of credentialing is handled when we're working in that space. So let's go on and talk a bit more about how to stay on top of the competition as a remote interpreter, because like I keep saying, you know, it's difficult to know what sort of credentialing you should have if you are working remotely and have clients all over the world. So Boostlingo does its best to try to tackle that and provide different types of ways to keep up with the competition and stay credentialed. So these are some of them, and the largest, I think I would say, is just stay up to date with the latest technology trends. That's going to keep you competitive because, as we know, remote interpreting is on the rise. So if you don't know how to use the latest software, you're going to be at a disadvantage. And you're in luck because I am in charge of our Boostlingo Professional Interpreter Network, which Jasmin has been a part of for 3 years now, right, Jasmin?
Yes, absolutely. And Caroline is an excellent trainer.
So if you're interested in joining that or learning more, please reach out to us. There is a website. There's a page where you can submit a form to become an interpreter on the platform if you are qualified, obviously. And then there's other ways to stay on top of the competition. So join interpreter associations like the ones mentioned in the previous slide. This will be sent out to all attendees. So no need to take notes. Don't worry about that. But a few, just to name them again, are NAJIT, CCHI, IMIA. There's so many out there that can help you stay up to date with what's going on in the market, and then what's going on in terms of qualification trends. Another great way is to follow language service industry blogs. I put ours there, but there's hundreds out there, and we are constantly on Facebook reposting people's blogs, interpreter blogs, interpretation expert blogs. So stay up to date with that. Join our Facebook group. Follow us on Twitter. And then, you know, credentialing. So this is also going to vary depending on where you are. But as we're a US-based company, we like to always remind interpreters to stay on top of their CEUs, which is the continuing education units. And there are many ways you can do that. Number one, or one of the ways that I like to highlight, is always attending language industry conferences as much as possible. For myself and for Jasmin, in the next couple of months, we have some conferences we'll be attending, actually, and just to let you guys know to look out for us there. Jasmin is in Canada, so she'll be attending remotely the CCHI Summit in October, and I'll be there in person exhibiting. And then also towards the end of October, I will be there at ATA, so American Translators Association 60th anniversary conference in Palm Springs. I'll be there as an interpreter, so I hope to see some of you guys there as well. And then, you know, just network. Like I keep saying, get on LinkedIn, clean up your profile, join interpreting groups, and if you need help finding any, just let me know.
And of course, if we keep on interpreting, then we won't get rusty. And as they say, practice makes perfect. So just keep taking calls from home as much as you can. Then
Yeah,
you
and
won't be rusty.
exactly. And that's what's great about, another great thing about being on the Boostlingo platform is that, you can do this in your own time. You don't have to have a schedule set. You just hop on, take calls, and of course it's going to vary by language, the demand, but it's just a great way to keep up with your skills, stay on your toes, know what's out there in the market, because these are the latest and greatest trends in technology and in what's in demand in terms of the market. So like I said before, 70% of our calls are healthcare. Um, so that says a lot about what's going on in the industry.
Yeah, and as many interpreters and I would tell you is that Boostlingo platform happened to be a user-friendly platform.
Yeah, definitely. And another thing to point out, which I haven't mentioned before, there is actually, and I'll show you guys after the presentation, there is a feature available on our platform called Walk Me, which is a great way to learn about the platform on your own. It gives you tutorials, there's videos, there's documentation. It's great. I'll show it to you after we finish the presentation here. Let's keep going though. So, we talked about how to stay up to date, how to stay competitive, but I think it's really important to talk about some of the like routine or day-to-day challenges that interpreters face when they are working remotely. These
Yeah,
are
and
things. Go ahead, Jasmine.
unfortunately, Caroline, some interpreters get a little too comfortable working from home and they forget to treat it like a job or on site interpreting. Interpreters not applying the code of ethics and best practices of remote interpreting, which we know how important code of ethics is. Interpreters, some of these challenges, interpreters have difficulties creating a private space and a quiet environment. And that is so important. We can't, as interpreters, take assignments or interpret in a noisy environment. Interpreters not using noise canceling headsets with fully charged batteries. It's always important to charge your batteries. You don't want your battery to die on you in the middle of the interpreting assignment. And you want and to avoid background noise and battery dying, not having the proper internet connections or speed, causing calls to disconnect. It doesn't really look professional for us interpreters when we're on a call and then we disconnect. So the clients are going to get frustrated. So where are the laps? By the way, when I talk about laps, for some of you, I mean, most of us know what lap is if we work as remote interpreters. But for the ones that don't know what lap stands for, it's limited English proficiency. That's what they call people that have the limited, which ones, so the ones we're interpreting for. And the clients, when we talk about clients, those are the ones that could be doctors, lawyers, anybody we're doing the work for. Unexpected, sometimes we have unexpected emergency, and an alarm sound can go off, or dogs barking, or kids crying, or so on. Now, answering calls from their cars or coffee shops, public places, interpreters wearing pajamas or bathrobes when answering video remote calls. Like we know, by wearing bathrobes and pajamas, the interpreter would look unprofessional to the client and to the lab and will not be taken seriously at that point. This will reflect badly on Boostlingo, and it would put the interpreter's reputation on the line.
Yeah, and also it's incredibly offensive, in my opinion. If you're not dressed professionally, there's so many things to consider, cultural factors, professional standards, and it's in my opinion, it's disrespectful not to look your best and do your best, because these are people who are requesting this service, um, thinking that they're going to get the best experience possible. So we need to try to deliver that.
Yeah,
And we
and
might,
Sorry, go
Sorry,
ahead,
go ahead.
Caroline.
We mentioned the pajamas and the bathrobes because it's happened before, unfortunately. So, and the coffee
Oh,
shops too. So, yeah, we have to keep reminding interpreters that, even though they're working from home, they are still providing a service that needs to look as professional as possible.
yeah, and not only pajamas and bathrobes that are not allowed. I mean, interpreter cannot be wearing a tank top or a summer dress. Sometimes we interpret for religious people, for example, and they don't want to see an interpreter wearing a summer dress or tank top. So what I normally do, I always have my blazer if it's not on, because when a video remote call comes in, I still have a few seconds before the client and the lab can see me. So I just grab quickly my blazer and put it on. So then I can look professionally.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a great way to be prepared always. And, on our platform, calls will come in. It's going to give the interpreter a few seconds to make sure that they're ready. That's enough time to grab a blazer and just throw it on.
Yeah, and we'll
Um,
talk more about that in the next slide.
yeah, exactly. So we'll keep going.
So now, how can we address such challenges to improve the services offered to LEPs, limited English proficiency? Now, keep in mind that interpreting in a remote setting is a job really, and it's not different than on-site interpreting. Follow the code of ethics to the best of your ability, provide accurate interpretation without altering, adding to, or omitting anything stated during the assignment. Refrain from participating in an assignment outside our professional skills, language fluency, or level of training. So, for example, make sure that if your native language, you're going to be interpreting, you're an English speaking person and you want to say you're interpret in Spanish, well, make sure that you know the Spanish language inside out, not that you just took some Spanish courses and or you were traveled to Spanish countries and learned some Spanish. You want to know the ins and out. Keep the lab's private information discussed through the assignment confidential. Remain impartial, professional, and respect all parties involved in the assignment. And always remember HIPAA compliance. Follow the VRI video remote best practices. Pay attention to the color. When the call comes in, green color means that you have a video remote call, VRI, and it will show you right there on the app. And when a yellow color comes in, that means it's an OPI call. So it's just an audio call. They won't see you. So then you're always prepared, and you always have prepared for proper professional environment. So please make sure that you following the video remote interpreting best practices. If you're rushing to answer a call and you're not ready, please do not, under any circumstances, answer it. And you just let another interpreter take the call.
Yeah, so that's a great point. I know that a lot of times, as an interpreter on the platform, you're waiting for calls to come in, and you see one, and maybe you get a little bit, nervous that, oh, I need to answer it on time, and maybe I don't have time. But it's incredibly important to just remember that if you're answering a call, you don't know, maybe it is VRI, maybe it's OPI. But if it's VRI and you answer it and you're not ready, that could mean a client is going to come back or not come back. It's very, very high visibility, this type of work. So
Yes,
answering a call unprofessionally could mean losing a client, unfortunately.
of
So we just
course.
have to be on our toes. I know it's a little stressful, but just do the work that you've studied and prepared to do, and do it in the best way possible.
Yes, it
And
is. Sorry,
sorry, go
Caroline.
ahead.
And it's really important to check the minimum tech requirements, which you should all have a copy of by now. And if
Yeah,
you need
so
any help with that, then check with Caroline.
yeah, and they're also available on the WalkMe. which I'll show you guys after this. It's all of that documentation is available on the website, on the dashboard itself, the Boostlingo dashboard. So I'll show you where to find that. I wanted to just mention here because for good measure, I know most of you probably know what HIPAA compliance stands for, but let's just go over it again real quick. Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. It sets the standards for sensitive patient data protection. So any company that works with protected health information, PHI, and in this case it's electronic, so ePHI, must have physical network and process security measures in place and follow them to ensure HIPAA compliance. So for interpreters, what that means is you have to have a valid HIPAA compliance training certificate. They are only valid every 2 years, and I can show you where to get one. It's pretty simple to get one, but if you're working in the healthcare space, it's absolutely essential. And then also I'll mention that our platform itself is HIPAA compliant, meaning that it has physical network and process security measures in place. So just for your information. Let's keep
Now
going.
let's continue on that.
Yeah, there's more.
So always dress professionally. Act as if you're going on site interpreting. And of course, if you didn't know but the main points of offering VRI as a service, VRI again is video remote interpreting, is to create an environment that replicates an in-person assignment as best as possible. So please be professional. Using a headset with microphone, ideally one with noise reduction or cancellation capabilities. This will improve sound quality and reduce background noise. Webcam offers more close on-site experience. Check the network before logging into. Make sure your internet speed is up to standards. Work in a closed, confidential, HIPAA-compliant environment. A home office with a closed door and no risk of interruption from anyone, even your own children or animals. So no public places, period. I remember, Caroline, in the last webinar training, one of the interpreter asked me a question. She said, is it okay if my husband can share my office space while I'm interpreting? Well, we should all know the answer to this by now. The answer is no, according to HIPAA compliance, because then her husband will be listening to the private information that she is sharing with the client and the lab. Exactly. Conference calling is so important here. Conference calling feature is only available on the web app. So please only use the web application with the latest version of Google Chrome. What does that mean? Conference calling feature is that at least when I'm interpreting, at least once a day, a client would ask me to dial the lab telephone number. So then we have a conference call. And the only way I can do that is if I'm on the web app and not from my cell phone. So if I'm out in public or in a coffee shop or restaurant, anywhere outside of my quiet environment on my computer, then I'm not able to dial the number for the client. Again, I'm going to look, my reputation will be on the line. It's going to reflect badly on Boostlingo, and it's going to cause a lot of inconvenience to the client.
Yeah, exactly. Very well said. I've had complaints from clients who have reached an interpreter who wasn't prepared to do conference calling, and this is a huge feature for them. It's something that they expect every interpreter to be able to do. And if you're on the platform, you have been trained in it. You've been sent information about it. We did training on it back in October. So there's really no excuses to not know how to do this at this point. Great. So we're going to keep going here and talk a bit about specifics on how to remain competitive as a medical interpreter.
So interpreters using the Boostlingo unified platform who are designated as medical interpreters, of course, they must have HIPAA compliance. If your goal is to become a medical interpreter, then you need to meet certain criteria depending on the level and type of medical assignments, depending on how many years of experience you have and all the certification you have. The incorrect medical terminology will have a negative impact on the patient and the health providers, and it's extremely risky. For example, a doctor could be performing surgery and he would ask the patient if she or he have any allergies. Well, an inexperienced interpreter might interpret it incorrectly, which might cost the patient's life here. So never ever go and do medical interpreting without having the correct skills and experience. Okay? Learn your medical glossaries and medical terminology in English and your native language. When I do interpreting, when I'm doing OPI and video remote, I always set up myself in my office and I have a copy of the medical glossaries. I would have a chart, like study diagrams of the human body. I had to do that where I looked on the internet for the diagram of the human body. I printed it out. I put it on my wall and I put all the medical glossaries beside me. So then it's easier. I have something to assist me with my interpretation. Learn the proper names and the side effects of medications. That's really important. There's so much terminology to learn, and you can find that on the internet, or if you're getting certified with any organization, um, they will offer you all the medical terminology. And of course, there are thousands of them, but always look at the important ones and the ones that are frequently used. Networking is excellent. Network with experienced and certified medical interpreters. There are so many certified and experienced interpreters out there that would love to share their experiences and especially their medical interpreters, if you have experiences, if you have any questions for them.
Yeah, it's even doctors, have to stay constantly up to date with different medical advancements or changes. And so as an interpreter, it's just incredibly important to stay on top of that, like Jasmin said. So let's talk about legal, which is a bit more complicated, but let's try our best to talk about this.
Yeah, it is. Okay. So if you want to specialize in legal interpreting, it is important to familiarize yourself with certain legal terminology. Use the legal terminology such as specific, okay, with legal, as we know, there are specific legal phrases and expression that are used in courtrooms. Learn the process and etiquette that is used in law courts, deposition, questioning, and in law enforcement. Learn the types of law available, such as criminal law, personal injury, civil law, family law, etc. Here are some tips to stay competitive. Attend court training sessions in person or online. Know how to interpret the Charter of Rights, or in the US, they call it the Bill of Rights. Canada, we call it Charter of Rights or the Bill of Rights in the US. Know your legal terminology in English and always in your native language, of course. Study the court system in your area. What are the type of courts available in your jurisdiction? Join Legal Interpreters Network. Obtain legal certificates through online courses. Be aware that in court you are made to take an oath stating that you will only interpret what is said and nothing else. There have been cases where interpreters have used the wrong terminology and innocent people went to prison and criminals got out free. So do you see why it's so important if you want to specialize in the legal field, you need to know the ins and out of the legal field and the court system and the correct terminology.
Yeah, and you also like in any interpreting assignment, have to interpret just what is said. Don't throw in any additions or anything. That's very,
No,
very
never,
important.
never.
Yeah.
Even if you disagree with anything that's been said, or
Yeah, I mean that's tricky, right? Because you're a human, you have opinions, but you have to be sort of the vessel. You can't. You have to be very impartial, and we've talked about that in previous trainings too.
yeah, we did. Yeah, try not to make any body language or certain face expressions that you're not happy with what's being said and so on. So it's just
Yeah, you got to
stay
keep a poker face.
a poker face, stay neutral.
Yeah. So here's just a little bit more information, kind of like general information on how to stay competitive. So Jasmine, if you want to talk about this, and then we'll take some questions.
Yes, I love the Boostlingo dashboard here. So each interpreter is required to know the Boostlingo dashboard inside out. Keep your profile up to date. Profile summary is the first place that language service providers and recruiters stop at. And by the way, LSP stands again for language service providers. You want to have a brief summary of your skills, experiences describing your main characteristics and designations. Upload a good profile photo. Dress in a business attire in the photo. You don't want to be wearing a summer dress or a tank top because everybody's going to look at your photo. So, first impression is everything. Your profile should be a very condensed version of a cover letter. So always remember that there is so much competition out there. Keep reminding yourself of that. So you really want to stand out. You want to upload your current accreditation, update a professional resume. If you have testimonial letters or reference letters, if you will, then upload them. Upload any certificate, any type of education, industries, which means whether it's medical, legal, business, anything that you specialize in. Then
Yeah,
stay
and
up to date. Sorry.
just to interject, I'll show you guys where you can upload that information, and just to keep in mind, it's all confidential, so the client can't just go in and click on it. But if it's requested, it's very important to have it handy in case of an audit or in case a client is requesting proof that the interpreter that they used had certain credentialing.
Yeah, exactly. That's a really good point, Caroline. Just like when I did court interpreting for the US, the judge, um, he asked for my credential in the legal field to make sure that I'm qualified to do court interpreting in the United States.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
So, fluency in English and your native language. Pronounce clearly when you speak. Languages are constantly evolving. Keep up with the new terminology. The internet is a great place for that. Join interpreters workshops, attend online webinars, and language industry conferences. For all the ones that are attending this webinar today, now you gain some more new information and helpful tips. If you master your profile, your interpreting techniques or skills, and follow the code of ethics, you will have a great chance to work in this industry for many years to come, and you will have a good income. I guarantee you that. As our world becomes more and more globalized, interpretation will continue to be in large demand, needing more and more qualified interpreters like you.
Yeah, exactly. So I am gonna first let's take some questions, and then
Questions? Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, and then what I'll do, also I'd like to mention here, if you are interested in the CCHI summit, which is in October, you can attend it virtually, and you can just go to their website. It's the CCHI website, which is on the slide, on a slide in here, which we'll be sending to you guys. But we're also doing a webinar with the director of CCHI, Natalia Mitareva, on August 20th. So stay tuned for that. We'll send you all the information you need on that as well to register. And then with Jasmin, September, we're going to do a deep dive into the Boostlingo platform, meaning we will show you from A to Z how to set up your environment, how to take calls on the platform, BRI best practices, what it looks like to have a HIPAA compliant space. We'll go through the equipment, every single detail you need to be the most successful remote interpreter. We will go through it. So stay tuned for the date and the registration link on those 2 webinars. And right now we'll go through some of these questions, and then I will do a quick sneak peek at the dashboard, the Boostlingo dashboard, so I can show you guys a couple of things that will be useful for you. Okay, I'm gonna stop my screen share for now. Okay, here we go. Start from the beginning. What is the demand in the Nepali language? We have huge demand for Nepali. It's actually one of the languages for us that is harder to cover for whatever reason. So if you're interested in becoming a Nepali interpreter, please do reach out to us. There is a website link on this deck of PowerPoint slides that has all the information you need to submit a form to send to us. What else? Can we get these slides in our emails afterwards? Yes, I will be sending those to you guys, so don't worry about that. Let's see, what's this one? If it's around specific training for court interpretation, it's really going to vary depending where you live. So like I said, please do email us and we can try to help you find resources in your area. Facebook. So our Facebook link is there. You can click on it. It'll get you to where you need to be to follow us on Facebook, and then you'll have updates and latest trends there as well. Software and training. So Boostlingo is a software platform. We work with language companies that employ interpreters. So you may be part of one of those language companies, right? But you're using the Boostlingo software. So it's either the language company that is going to train you in how to use the software, but you also have the level of support through Boostlingo to get questions answered about the software and be trained in it as well. So you would just reach out to us for that information. Okay, keep going. What sets Boostlingo apart from other language service platforms? That is a great question, and it's something that I think would be better answered if somebody were to do a demo of the platform, because it's something that is unified. It shows how we are able to do real-time connections for video and for audio interpreting on a mobile app and also on the web in real time. And then it's also a management system. So it gives the interpreter as well as the language company the ability to manage their schedule, to manage their appointments, to take appointments and assignments that are broadcasted automatically from their respective language company. And then it has all of these metrics that I'll show you on the platform as well. And it also it integrates with certain with QuickBooks, for example. So for invoicing, it's incredibly useful for language companies that want to integrate that and make it more automated to do payments to their interpreters and to have their clients pay them. So let's keep going. Somebody asked here, which is a great question, the rating system, which there is a rating system for both the clients and the interpreter. So the client is going to rate the call quality and then also the quality of their experience. So that means their overall experience with the interpretation session. There's a 5-star rating, kind of like if you're taking a Lyft or an Uber, and it gives you that option. So if you're ever worried or wondering why you got a certain rating, you can always reach out to us and we will look into it and make sure that there wasn't any miscommunication, or if there was any sort of issue, we'll figure out what happened. I'm gonna let you take this one, Jasmin. Can we take OPI calls while in the car?
Oh, I've been asked that before. No, of course not. Absolutely not. We can't take any calls in the car, OPI, because how are we just finished talking about conference dialing. Conference
Hmm.
dialing, you have to dial it on your webcam, and if you're in the car, there might be outside noise, and you can't guarantee. So you cannot take from the car. You have to be inside your home or in a quiet space anywhere, but not definitely not a car.
Yeah, also, I mean, it's not a HIPAA compliant space, and also, very important, it's not going to be the best network. So if you're on 4G or LTE and not Wi-Fi, it can be very unpredictable. So it's
Okay.
better just to be on a network that you've tested, that you're sure about, that you are confident that will work. Um, because the client is not just judging you on your interpretation services, they're judging you on whether or not there's a clear connection, whether or not there's background noise. So
Exactly,
it's
Caroline.
very important to keep that in mind.
I mean, one of my biggest fears always, every day when I'm interpreting, is that my internet would disconnect or have or my network or something. So that's why I'm always prepared before I log in or take any calls and make sure that everything is connected properly and up to date.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Are you or have you recruited interpreters in Europe or the UK? So I like to always make the distinction. Boostlingo is not we do not employ interpreters. We refer interpreters to language companies that work with us in certain cases. So, and yes, we do have interpreters on the platform all over the world, in Europe and in the UK. So if you're interested, just let us know. Um, can we get a certificate of participation in this seminar? Yes, you can. Just email me to remind me. My email is caroline@boostlingo.com. So it's just caroline@boostlingo.com. Let's keep going. What is the demand for Arabic specifically in conference industries? So great question. It's not a space that Boostlingo currently works in terms of conference interpreting, because that's more simultaneous and we don't have that feature. But that said, Arabic and Jasmine, I'm sure you can speak to
Of
this.
course, Aaron. Yes, I mean, if you check the United Nations website, Arabic is in huge demand for conference interpreting right now.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
know
So
Arabic is one of the top 5 languages according to the United Nations. So you'll find all the information you need
yeah.
on the internet about that. Just put Arabic conference interpreting, United Nations, and you'll have all the details. They certify people for that as well.
Okay, so exactly, that's a great point. How do you plan to continue innovating the platform? So we are constantly updating it. We have releases every couple months, and it's all feedback from language companies. So these are the people who are in it nitty gritty. They get feedback from their interpreters, from their clients on what is going to make this a more user friendly and efficient product. So we get up to date, we're getting feedback from clients, and we have more than 200 language companies using this platform worldwide, and it's growing steadily. So yeah, that's how we're innovating it. We're getting feedback on features that are going to make this a better product for language companies. So, and just to point out, if you're interested in learning about the new features, there's webinars that our development team does whenever we have a release. So if you're interested in learning about the new features that are coming out on a month-to-month basis, just let us know, and we can add you to the emailing list.
Yeah, those are great webinars. I always attend them.
Yeah. Let's see. If I took the 40 hours mandatory, where do I go next for CCHI? So Natalia is the director, so she's always available, right? But you can also just go to the CCHI website and fill out a information request form. The website is on this deck of PowerPoint slides as well, so that information is all available to you. We talked about the demand for Arabic. It's one of the top languages in our system. It's requested very, very often. That said, we have a lot of Arabic interpreters. So competition is kind of fierce, meaning you have to stay credentialed. You have to keep yourself competitive.
Exactly.
We already answered this. If you're having issues anytime logging in, I would say, because somebody's asking me about the app on their phone versus in a computer, should be the same credentials, the same login information. If you're having issues, please do reach out to your language company coordinator, whoever that may be, and they'll be able to help you with that. Let's see. Yes, we will send the PowerPoint. All right. Email, who do you contact for technical issues? This is a good question, and always first contact your language company. So whichever one you are affiliated with, and it'll tell you on the platform, and you should have been introduced to these people in the beginning. That would be the person you get in touch with first. They'll try to handle it. If they can't, then they'll escalate it to Boostlingo support. HIPAA certification recommendations. So I'll, when we send out the recording and the slides to this, I will put a link in there for you guys for a resource for getting training. German and Romanian. Yeah, actually we have quite a spike in Romanian. Not exactly sure why or where it's coming from, but if you are a Romanian interpreter, and of course if you speak, if you also have another language, it's always, you know, extremely helpful for us too. Helps us cover more demands. So yeah, Romanian is in demand. German not as much, but we are growing, so it's always you know, something that could be in demand in the future. Serbian, Croatian, Bosnian. Specifically, Bosnian is in demand. The other two less so, but we still do get calls for those. Certificates. If you do want a certificate for this, please email me so I can remember to send it to you. It's Caroline at boostlingo.com. Let's see. Top language companies for Spanish. So unfortunately, I'm not, because of confidentiality, not at liberty to mention names of companies that we work with. But if you are interested in interpreting, do fill out the form that I mentioned on the Boostlingo website. And you know, I know that the platform can be a little bit maybe intimidating at first, but if you are interested, I will show you that it's easy to use, and it's fairly user friendly.
It really is. It really is, Caroline. If I can do it, you can.
Yeah, it's really quite user friendly. Let's see, we're running out of time, and I do want to talk about where you can find more information on the dashboard. So any questions that you didn't get answered, please email us, and we will do our best to field those questions. I'm going to share my screen again so I can show you guys the dashboard here. Jasmine, can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So this is my fake interpreter profile. This is the one I use when I'm demoing or showing people the platform, right? And I'm doing great. I have a 5.0 rating, so.
Hey, good job.
So yeah, this is the dashboard. It's going to show you an overview, if you haven't seen this before, of your total earnings, aggregate rating, appointments, on-demand calls. But I wanted to showcase and just make sure that you guys are aware of this feature here on the top right, which is for FAQs and help. This is a software that we installed here to help interpreters learn and understand the platform at their own pace. So if you need help, you can type in a question. You can also look at walkthroughs, and there's so many different tutorials here that'll show you some of the things we talked about, but more in detail, right? And then also there are videos here too, which are helpful, and documents. So these documents are great, and the one I recommended going over, and I saw we mentioned earlier, is the minimum requirements. That's going to be in terms of technical minimum requirements, what's going to give you the best experience, what kind of equipment you need. And you're also able to open a ticket if you need to get technical support. So we have 5 minutes left. Jasmin, is there anything you wanted to mention about the platform or anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, I'm just glad that we have a good turnout today, and keep up with these webinars. It's wonderful to know that you're already starting to collect certification just by attending webinars.
Yeah.
So know that you're in a great, fast-growing industry, and just go for it. And don't be shy. Network, learn as much as you can. Everything is on the internet these days. And just follow, go ahead. Sorry, Karen.
No, it's okay. I just remembered something that's important that I wanted to show you guys. We mentioned before that it's important to upload your documentation, so credentials, HIPAA compliance certificates. So you go to configuration here on the left side, and then you go here to your overview. This is kind of a summary cover letter of what you do, and then you would click add and upload any file that's going to provide proof of credentialing and documentation. This is where you would keep it. Like I said before, it's not visible to anybody but yourself. And it's confidential, but it's very important to keep those things on hand in case of an audit or in case a client requests them.
Yeah, and always add new ones. Let's say that you uploaded your documents and resume and everything, then next month you might get more certificates, or you need to update your resume some more. Just go in there and add it. It's really easy to do that. So I would really like to say thank you for joining us today. Good luck to all of you, and happy interpreting, and see you soon.
Yes, thank you so much, and thank you, Jasmin, for being with us. It's always a pleasure. Another note here: stay tuned for the next training and the next webinar in August. There will be information sent out to you with registration links. So thank you, everybody, for joining. It's been a pleasure, and I hope we will see you soon.
Thank you, Caroline. Bye-bye.
Bye.